Why, hello there. Do you like fantasy? Do you like absurdism? Have you ever felt yourself questioning your religion, or religion in general, and wondering, how did it get here? What is it really? What is it all really about? Well, I have a book for you. Small Gods. So, I've been wanting to read this book for a while. I have known about Terry Pratchett for a good bit. I'm a big fan of Good Omens. I'm a huge fan of Neil Gaiman. So, knowing Neil Gaiman and the friendship that he had with Sir Terry Pratchett and sort of the lore behind him, I was very excited to kind of get into what's considered one of his best books. The Turtle Moves! General overview of the book. The pacing, really fast. It only took me 3 days to read this. I could have done it in a day, but I had some other stuff to do. Don't be surprised if you pick it up and you can't put it down. The way he just kind of flies through all the things he wants to hit and sort of moves the plot forward. It's a super enjoyable read, so you just kind of go boom right through it. And as you get through it, there's a lot of cool elements about it. So the world building in Discworld is fantastic. It's really humorous. I'm a absurdist, so just kind of a background of Discworld is that the planet is flat. It's on the back of a herd of elephants who may or may not be on top of a flying tortoise going through space. So that's the baseline where it sets out. And the way they build the magic system, the way they build sort of the gods and the religions around things, how death is actually anthropomorphized and a literal person that goes around talking to people, it is just absolutely sublime. The prose and humor in this book, I think, are the biggest shining points other than the theme for the book. Terry Pratchett is an excellent humorist and writer. He knows how to use the pen to the best advantage. So a lot of the intricacies of humor and having writing, particularly punch, means that he has to really have his prose dialed in. So when he's building these images and situations, he is doing a great job of just sort of boom, boom, pow, setup, punchline, theme, idea, and then just boom. It is really fantastic, and at this one, I would say it's a masterwork with how he does it. But the real thing that stuck with me, and I think that will leave me thinking about this book for a good time longer, is how he handled themes. So this book revolves around religion, philosophy, ethics, sort of how do all those kind of intermingle with being a good person, and how does being religious sort of play in or doesn't play into kind of being a good person. And what happens when people start to believe in the structure of religion rather than the actual thing that the religion is supposed to be based on. And this was a really cool thing. I used to be pretty religious, now I'm not. And so kind of reading through this and seeing the main character sort of have these discoveries for himself and sort of setting up how this is the plot for the church kind of doing the church things and how he's coming to a realization of other things. It was just really cool done. I don't want to get into too many spoilers for this book just because how well it's done. I think it's best for you to experience it yourself, but I will give you a kind of vague idea of sort of the plot and, why you should kind of care and want to read it. But basically, this book follows a kind of slow, dumpy acolyte. Everyone kind of dumps on him. And there's nothing really special about him except that he has a very good memory, so he's able to have the entire text of his religion memorized despite not being able to read or write. And he comes into contact with the literal manifestation of his god, who no longer has any believers for some weird reason. And circumstance kind of dictate that he is now a turtle. So those two go on a misadventure to kind of explore the ideas and concepts of religion, how people like to worship structures and not the actual gods themselves, and just kind of dealing with the people who like to use religion to kind of come up into power and use it for their own ideals, while also kind of juggling the idea of ethics and philosophy. And is there a difference between being religious and being a good person? And There was one in particular line that really kind of stood out that I will spoil. If you don't want to hear it, just skip ahead. But they were describing sort of one of the philosophers that becomes like a main character in the book, or kind of follows the plot for it. And normal philosophers will debate, is truth beauty or is beauty truth? And then he got shunned for asking, hey, that's fine and all, but what is it really all about? When you get really down into it, like, what is all this really about? I kind of got a good chuckle out of it. But it's a fun kind of misadventure. It almost like is like a buddy cop comedy, except they're not actually in law enforcement. And the humor and the pacing and everything puts it where it's just a really fun ride going through. I talked about how great the book is and everything, but who would I actually recommend this book to? If you are a fan of fantasy in general, I think everyone should check out Terry Pratchett at least once. If not this book, I really like Good Omens, his co-authored thing with Neil Gaiman. But if you like Good Omens, or you like any of other Neil Gaiman's work, if you like Monty Python, if you like absurdism, if you just have been in fantasy for a while and are looking for something new to check out that has a humor bent, then I think this book is for you. If you hated all of those things, and for some reason, then no. I'd still say check it out just for seeing sort of the craft work that it is, if you like to read and you just want to see how different sort of genres play out. I think this is an excellent example of that sort of absurdist humorism. So if you like it, check it out. And even if you don't, I think it's worth sort of kind of getting out of your comfort zone and like really kind of diving into this Discworld. And who knows, maybe you'll be one of those guys who gets 40 books in and then just kind of claims them as a masterwork. Now, with all that being said, I recommend it. If you like fantasy in general or haven't checked out Discworld or Terry Pratchett himself, you should check this one out. And Terry has a really interesting story. After his fourth book, when he started getting actually accolades, it took him 16 years to like actually become a full-time writer where he could do that on his own. So just through sheer persistence and kind of dedication to his craft, he was able to build something really cool and really beautiful. And there are some documentaries on YouTube. I recommend checking them out. Neil Gaiman has some talks kind of like commemorating Sir Terry Pratchett. And so it just seemed like a really cool guy. And, it's unfortunate that he's no longer here with us. But, he left behind some gems. So moving forward, the next book on things going to be a little more dystopian. I won't spoil, what's coming out. I'll just let it come out. I want to get back to the next book in Hyperion, so I'll do that pretty soon. But, hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, like and subscribe. I'm going to keep trying to pushing out these weekly, but, I get to read really good books or really interesting books and sort of see how the masters are doing. So, I appreciate you guys watching this video. If you stayed around, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next week. Thanks, and bye-bye.